Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. As we work our way through December, I want to remind everybody that before the holidays, we still have lots of events coming up. So if you visit exploringbytheseat.com, you can find all kinds of events, including events with the Gardner Foundation, where we are learning about our health and unlocking secrets of the human body. So definitely check that out. We also have a lot more live events coming up. We'll be taking a virtual field trip to Sand Cobb in South Africa to meet some of the South African penguins that are being rehabilitated to be released back into the wild. A trip to the Toronto Zoo to learn about care for the polar bears. So lots of great events still coming up. And of course, every December, we work our way through big cats, connecting with scientists, researchers, and conservationists from all over the world who are studying and protecting these amazing species. And today we have a really great event. We're going to head to Zambia in Africa, and we're going to catch up with Thandiwe Mweetwa. She is a Zambian wildlife biologist, conservation educator, and National Geographic explorer. She's working to protect large carnivores in her home country with the nonprofit organization Zambian Carnivore Programme. As a believer and supporter of community-based conservation, she's also dedicated to exploring effective ways of integrating local communities in wildlife conservation through environmental awareness programs, capacity building, youth empowerment, and citizen science initiatives. And her work protecting big cats has been featured in several BBC and National Geographic videos and documentaries. So I'm going to bring her in live with us right now. Hey, Tandy, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good. It's so great to have you joining us live today. We always love connecting and catching up on your work.
Yeah, I always love joining you guys at this time of year. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right, excellent. Well, look, we've got some classrooms hanging out on camera with us. We have more tuning in via YouTube. They'll send some questions as well. But for now, let's let you take over for a little bit and take us into some of the work that you do.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can I try my screen share now?
Absolutely.
Can't see the screen I want to share.
That's okay. I remember it was a presentation. So if that's open, what you could do is either use the option you did before where you pick that screen, or choose the entire screen option. And that one can work really well as well. You just kind of pop the presentation up in front.
Okay. Is this working?
I don't see anything yet, but this is typical of technology. We just tested before we went live and it worked well for us. And of course, now we're live and we run into
Doesn't want to go. Okay.
That's right.
Is that working?
I don't see it yet. What do you see on your screen, Tandy?
So I can see my presentation in your window. Let me try and close this again, and then I will start the screen share.
Sure. And I can walk you through it too. If you pick that first option under present, the share screen, and then hopefully it gives you three options. And if you pick that entire screen, the first one, and then click the little picture of your screen underneath, it should light up the share button.
Yeah, it did. Share, yeah. Share screen. Windows. There it is.
All right. Let's see if we're in luck this time. I see it. It's coming. We got it.
Okay. Nice. Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go. If it's not full screen yet, did you make it full screen on your end?
Yes.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah, it didn't come full screen for us. We've got kind of the behind the scenes view.
Okay, let me try it again 1 second.
Yeah, let's try one thing really quickly, Tandy. If you stop the screen share.
Yeah.
And then go back into present and then pick that screen share first option. And then let's keep it on entire screen. So it should say the first option should be entire screen. And then click the picture underneath, the picture of your screen.
Okay, I think I have it now.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see if we have it now. Yeah?
It's loading, yep. And let's see if it'll go full screen for us.
Yeah?
Okay, we're ready. Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. We just tested that and it worked, no drama. But now I think we can get started. All right. Before I go into talking about the work that I do with the organization Zambian Carnivore Programme, I would like to just share with you guys a little bit about how I got to be doing the current job I'm doing with the organization I work with today. This is just because it's Big Cat Week, and big cats, particularly lions, had a really important role to play in that. So up there, I have a really grainy photo of a single lion standing in an open flat plain. I think this was the day that I decided that, I am going to work with large carnivores, and one of them being the African lion. What happened on this day was that it was my very first day as a volunteer working for the Zambian Carnivore Programme. And how I had gotten to this point was that, dialing back a year earlier, I had moved to Canada in Vancouver to pursue a degree in animal biology. And this was to enable me become a wildlife vet later on. This was because I'd developed a really big interest in wildlife after learning about all the challenges that animals face in the environmental club at my school. And I wanted to, rescue and treat injured animals and wildlife in particular. So in Canada, when I got to my second year, I started taking classes in animal anatomy and physiology. And part of the requirement was to do dissections of little, pig fetuses and other things. And I discovered in that class that I actually didn't enjoy handling animals that close. I didn't enjoy any aspect of the lab work, and it was quite disappointing to me. I came back home that summer really sad, and the volunteer position actually made me, made me a bit happier. And on this day, when we went out into the field to try and collar some young males for the research project that this organization was doing, I got the opportunity to experience the full majesty of the African lion, so to speak. And how that happened was the researchers were playing these sounds of a dying buffalo to attract some lions to come, and so they could tag them. And sure enough, 3 young males came rushing in, hoping for a free buffalo breakfast. And when they got close to the vehicle that we were in, they were quite disappointed that there was no buffalo in sight. And basically, it had just been fake sounds. And I think maybe in anger or disappointment, they started calling and roaring on top of their lungs. And at that point, it was one of the most amazing experiences I'd had in nature. And on this day, I think my career as a wildlife biologist studying lions began to shape up, because it was suddenly clear in my mind that I don't have to be a wildlife vet to work with animals and help protect them, but I could do things like research and later on do other conservation work related to these species. So that grainy photo is something that is of very high significance to me. And it just signifies the day that I started on this journey. So that was just a little, story to I think explain to everybody just what value lions play, or what value lions have played in my career and my life up to this point. So just to go back a little bit to the work that I do, I work with this organization called the Zambian Carnivore Programme. We work in a country called Zambia, which is right in the middle of Southern Africa. It's the little butterfly-shaped map on the other side that you see there. We called the Smile of Africa just because of that weird angle that the country takes. I work in a national park called South Luangwa National Park, and that's the national park on the eastern side right there. But our organization works in all these other national parks that are highlighted here. The main activities that we do are particularly in 3 national parks, the second one being Kafue National Park and Liuwa Plains. So our mission in Zambia is to protect large carnivores, and by that I mean animals such as the African wild dog, the leopard, the cheetah, the hyena, and the lion as well. And in addition to protecting these species, we also seek to protect the habitats or the areas where they live. Our approach to protecting large carnivores, including lions, falls under these 4 pillars that we have in that little pyramid over there. The first one is centered around science. So we seek to understand what the threats that these animals are facing are, and then how they change over the course of time and as you move from place to place. And then the second approach that we use to conserve lions and other animals is centered around conservation action. And this is where we address specific threats that we have identified under the science pillars. And the 2 other pillars are the community or the people facing side of the work that we do. One is centered around the conservation leadership is centered around developing and giving opportunities to motivated young people that want to join the conservation sector, and training them and giving them the necessary skills to thrive in this profession and in the work that we do. And then under the coexistence pillar, we are interested in ensuring that people and wildlife live side by side in harmony, because as amazing as lions and other majestic wildlife are, it can be difficult to live with them and there can be challenges. And so the coexistence pillar is the umbrella through which we do work that is centered around promoting community support for conservation and also making it easier for people to live with animals such as lions. So the next couple of slides are just a few photos talking a little bit, showing a little bit more about the work. The science side of things is centered around studying populations. So we try to see, based on the species that we're studying, how are the populations doing? Are they staying stable? Are they increasing? Or are there declines that we should be flagging and be aware of? And like I said, we also study the threats that these animals face. We study how they use the space, how they move across different areas. And then we also study human carnivore conflict. Under the conservation action, like I said, it's to address the threats that we have identified under pillar number 1. And one of the threats tends to be wire snare poaching that can be non-selective and can injure animals such as lions. And so we rescue animals that have been reported to be carrying wire snares. And then under the leadership part, we start early working with students, teaching them about the value of conservation research, the value of wildlife in general, and trying to identify the motivated ones out of the group that will want to proceed into careers in conservation, and then we offer them support for that later on. And when it comes to human-wildlife conflict and coexistence, it involves working with the community to figure out how do we best coexist with lions? How can we reduce human-lion conflict that results from lions preying on people's livestock, such as the little goats we have there, and there's a few cows in the background, things like that. The next section speaks specifically to some of the threats that African lions face in our area, but then also other parts of Africa. Habitat loss is one of them. As human settlement patterns change, as people move from place to place, lions are running out of space in some of these areas, and so habitat loss it poses a significant threat to the persistence and the survival of the African lions. And with this regard, we work with various partners and try to safeguard or protect habitat that lions and other species use. And Then wire snare poaching is a serious threat. What wire snare poaching is, for people that don't know, is where people set traps in the bush, usually on the game trails or paths that animals use to get to water or to get from place to place. And the target species for wire snares, people want to trap small to medium-sized antelopes, so antelopes that are like the size of maybe white-tailed deer or something like that. But these wire traps are they're very non-selective. They can catch anything that walks through. So African lions tend to be affected. And the other way that wire snares can affect African lions is by reducing the prey base. So if people catch the antelope that these lions eat, the lions can, face reduced food availability. And then human wildlife conflict I mentioned, because lions can go out in villages and kill people's livestock. It can be a problem because people can then retaliate in order to protect their livestock, and they can kill some lions, or sometimes some groups of lions can be poisoned. So that's a threat, and we seek to address that again by working with different partners to reduce the lion predation on livestock, and then also promote human safety around lions. So wire snares have that impact, like I've already mentioned. And when an animal walks through a wire snare, they can fight and break away because the snare is usually put or tied to a tree. But when they break away, they can be walking around with this bit of wire either around their neck or on one of their limbs. And this wire progressively gets tighter and tighter. And over time, it can lead to some serious consequences. If it's around the neck, the animal can suffocate and die, or it can get a very nasty wound that can get infected, and the animal can also, die like that. Or the animal can lose body parts. If it's on the paw can get cut off as the wire gets tighter. So we do our best to rescue and treat any of the animals that are reported to us and that we see carrying these nasty traps. The good part about the work that we do is that, and once the animal is rescued or treated, they will recover very quickly. Up there, I have a photo of a young male lion that was caught in a wire snare in early 2020. So you can see the dark part that you see around like through his mouth and across the back of his head is a wire that had gotten tighter and tighter, and it had caused a cut, and the cut was not looking so good. But after treatment, this lion went on to make a full recovery, and that's the young male you can see in the other picture. You can see a little bit of where the wire had passed, and then you can also see where it had cut through his mouth, extending the line of his mouth a little bit. So this young male luckily has made a full recovery. He's got his own coalition and his own pride now. But because of this injury that he had, he is now called the Joker, unfortunately, because this wire left him disfigured with a bit of an extended cape around the mouth. But this photo is quite good because it gives us encouragement, and it gives us, the energy to continue the work that we do, because every little help that we render to the animal, it means something, and the animals get to recover, and they get to go back into the wider population and do what lions are supposed to be doing in the bush. Around human wildlife conflict, this is some of the work that we do. It involves around securing the enclosures that people use to keep their livestock. So over there is just a goat that had been attacked, but we do different type of demonstrations for enclosures that can protect livestock from lions, and so one of them is a bamboo mat enclosure designed for cows. The idea is to break the visual that lions have of what is inside the boma or the corral, and so this helps reduce some of the challenges. Up there, I have a map of some of the collared lions that we have in the area. The little dots are GPS locations of where some of these animals had moved. So you can see the green part is South Luangwa National Park, and then outside over there is an area called a game management area. This is where people live as well. So with animals living on the boundary, there's potential for conflict, and in some areas lions do live outside the national park, in and among villages that people live in, and so there is likelihood of conflicts in there, and this is where some of the intense conflict work has been. But the good part is that our country has a number of different national parks and buffer zones around that national parks, and they still provide habitat for lions, even though it can be difficult sometimes. The photo I have up there is again to show the fact that despite some of the challenges that these lions are going through, they can actually thrive in these ecosystems and in these areas, even living among people. So this is a collection of photographs from a collision of 3 young males that we first saw in 2020, and then they disappeared at the end of the year, and we didn't know what had happened to them. We didn't know whether they died, whether they'd been caught in a snare or something happened, but we were very happy to see them again this year. My colleagues were outside of the national park, and they found these guys doing really well, looking so much bigger. Their manes are starting to come on, and they had a pride with them of about 12 lions, and so they're doing really well for themselves. So it's possible for coexistence to happen even outside protected areas, and lions can thrive there. The slide I have next is also talking about, even though lions are facing a lot of problems, there is hope in many other places. Like I said, and the photo of Zambia that you saw, you can see that Zambia is a big country with a lot of areas set aside for wildlife conservation. It's over 30% of the country is managed for conservation in some shape or form. So it is now possible to recover lions in areas where they have, disappeared. And 2 months ago, we were very happy to host a group from the northern part of Zambia around the national park called Nsumbu. And they had come to visit South Luangwa National Park because they wanted to learn about lions, what goes into living with the amazing animals like this, but then also what are the challenges that we face. And the whole reason for their visit was because in their area, the ecosystem has recovered enough that it's possible to reintroduce lions to those places. And so in order to prepare for the lions' arrival and the potential introduction there, they came out to a place like South Luangwa that already had lions. What are the benefits of having these animals? What are the challenges? And it was a very fruitful learning experience for everybody. And it was a very good activity for us as well, because it's one of the ways we can help protect lions in the wild and also help them recover in places where they've been lost. So this work actually makes me excited because there's great potential for these species to flourish and thrive elsewhere. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation. Hopefully you could hear me okay. And I am open for questions.
All right. Excellent. Well, Tandy, thank you so much. You're doing incredible work. And it's always great to hear those success stories, right? We hear so many stories, negative stories about what's happening to wildlife, but it's great to hear conservation successes and when animals are rescued and can recover from things like snares and other things like that. So thank you so much for the work that you and your team are doing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I say we turn it over to a little Q&A action. If you're tuning in via YouTube, use that chat sidebar and I'll keep my eye out for some questions and we'll work some of those into the event. But for now, let's get things started and let's bring in a camera classroom. So Madame Marvin's crew is hanging out with us. They are in Toronto, Ontario. I see someone raising their hand. They are ready. Hey, everyone. How are we doing?
Good. We're doing great. Yeah.
Do lions ever come into the villages, like directly into them?
Yeah, so they do. If you saw the map, there was a green boundary, which is the national park, and outside of that is where the villages are. So lions do walk through villages usually at night because they are what are called nocturnal animals and they're most active at night. So sometimes I have woken up and have seen lion tracks in my driveway because they walked through while I was sleeping.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got to head to our next class, but it was very interesting. Can we all say merci?
Merci.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being with us today. Okay, let's bring in another camera class here. So you, Tandy, you might recognize this class. They're from Glenville, Illinois, and Miss Michael. So I think a few years ago, she was paired with you for a project.
Yeah.
So let's bring in the crew.
Yes, I remember the name.
It is so good to see you, Tandi. Here's Isabella with a question.
When you were 12 years old and saw lots of wildlife because you lived close to it, were you ever scared of any of the animals?
Was I ever scared?
When you were
I think-
when you were a kid, when you first moved to a rural area, she wanted to know.
Yes, I don't think I was scared at all. I was just excited to see animals up close in person because I'd read a lot of books about them and I'd seen them on wildlife documentaries, and so seeing them in person was very exciting for me. The first animal I saw was a baboon eating a mango, and that was just the most exciting thing I saw that very first morning I arrived in Mweetwa.
All right. So you guys have another question on deck.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Eli? Eli's got a question. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a poster behind you with a bunny and a warning symbol. What is that?
I almost took this down because it can be a bit distracting. It is a poster talking about even bunnies need vaccinations. So if you have a pet, in order to protect them from various diseases, you need to vaccinate them. So that's the poster. I'm in the vet's office at the moment, so there's a lot of posters up on the wall. There's one of a dog up there, and a few other ones, a little elephant statue. But yeah, that one is talking about vaccinating your pets and making sure that they're all safe from diseases.
All right. I think that's a really great point, because I think sometimes when people think about Africa, they don't think about that people have pets too as well, cats and dogs and things like that. So vaccination programs are really important because that can stop the spread of disease from pets, domestic animals, to the wild animals like the lions.
Yeah, and actually we have a vaccination program that also does exactly what you are saying, Joe. We target domestic animals such as domestic dogs, because lions walk through the village all the time and they can come into contact. If they came into contact with a dog that had rabies, for example, they can take the disease back to the other lions in the group, and they can also get sick, and that can be dangerous. So the vet's office where I am right now serves also as a vaccination clinic, but then also every Tuesday the vet goes from village to village offering dog vaccinations.
All right. We're going to grab a question here from YouTube. We have Miss Veen Camp's group joining us, and Lily wants to know, how many lions do you think have, since you've been with the program, have you helped with snares?
Oh, we have helped many lions. Off the top of my head, I remember close to 50 individuals.
Wow.
That we've treated from wire snare injuries. And from those 50 individuals, we also keep track of how many cubs, for example, have they gone on to have later on, and how many animals have resulted from just those individuals. And it's now close to 300 animals that have benefited directly from that anti-snaring work. And so out of most of the lions that we do treat from for wire snare injuries tend to be young males, just because they move a lot. When they reach the age of about 4, they leave the pride they were born in and they go elsewhere to try and set up their own prides and territories. And so they tend to get more frequent encounters with snares. And so most of them are young boys. And then also, again, there's also older females, but yeah.
All right. So a follow-up here from that same group. This is Samia is wondering, is it difficult to kind of catch the lions afterwards and help them after they've been trapped in a snare?
It is very difficult because lions are carnivores, right? They sit at the top of the pyramid and there's not many of them out there, and they're very difficult to see. So in order to find these lions, we rely a lot on, number one, people that work in the national park and are in the national park a lot. So these are people that take tourists on safari, for example. So they keep us posted about, there's an injured animal in this area. And in order to help find those groups, once the reports have come in, we have radio collared or tagged individuals in the different groups, and the radio collars make it possible for us to reliably locate some of these groups and find the injured animals if they're in there. So yeah, once we find the animal themselves, usually it's not too hard to do the immobilization process itself, cleaning the wound and things like that, because we have a very qualified vet on the team who immobilizes the animal by shooting a dart with drugs in there to make the lion go to sleep. And the cleaning of the wound and the treatment takes about an hour, and we instantly release the animal. Once the animal wakes up, they go back and join the group. We don't have a holding facility where we keep them so that they recover for some time. They tend to recover really well on their own in the bush, and within like a period of a week, you'll see a very noticeable difference.
All right. We're going to go to Pennsylvania this time. We've got some 5th graders hanging out with Mrs. Hood, so let me bring them in. Hey, 5th graders, how are we doing today?
Hi, my name is Jason. And what other animals have you saved besides lions?
What other animals have we saved besides lions? A lot of other species. Let me see. I don't know if we have time later on. I can show you a video clip of a giraffe that we saved some time back. But we have saved elephants, African wild dogs, small antelope such as a small antelope called puku, impala, all different species, because these snares, like I said, they don't choose which animal to affect, and even big animals like elephants and buffaloes can also get caught.
All right. Well, I want to grab another question from Mrs. Hood's crew, and then I think definitely, Tandy, if you have that video handy after this question, maybe we should check it out.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it, but yeah, I'll wait for the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Andrew. How much does the average lion weigh, and how fast can they run?
I couldn't hear. Can you please repeat?
Hi, I'm Andrew. How much does the average lion weigh, and how fast can they run?
How fast can they run? I would need to look that one up. I'm not really sure, but an average lion can weigh up to, if it's a male lion, it can weigh up to 250 kilograms. I don't know how much that is in pounds, but if it's a female lion, it can weigh between 180 kilograms and 200 kilograms. Oops. Yeah, so they weigh quite a lot. That one young male I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, he weighed about 223 kgs. So he was young but quite heavy.
All right. Through the magic of Google, I did a quick conversion. And so it's about 550 pounds. That's a very, very big animal. And then it also said for short bursts, lions can reach up to 80 kilometers an hour. That's
Wow.
pretty
I
fast.
was going to, that is fast. That
But
is
just
pretty
short, right? Just a short, and they get tired pretty quick, I imagine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we take a look and see if the giraffe video is handy?
Let me giraffe recovery. Let me see. I'm just going to go to a wait. Maybe we can take a question as I try and get it to load.
Yeah, the other option too is I could send it to the classrooms or a link to it or something afterwards as well. Okay, while you're working, I was going to say, while you're working on that, we could do one in the background. And so Anastasia is curious. When you're working with the lions, have there ever been any, is there any risk? Has there ever been any close calls when working with the lions?
Interesting. So that very lion I showed you at the beginning, I ended up on that very day having a staring contest with him, just crouching like 3 or 5 meters away in the short grass because of exactly that, the Costco and the immobilization that didn't go according to plan. But what happened was they tried to immobilize him, but the dart was faulty, so he didn't get the full dose of the drugs. And so when he went down, he was just very lightly under. So the team managed to put a collar, a tracking device on him, and he was being carried to a shady tree so he could recover. And on that day, I think, coupled with the fact that the drugs didn't inject fully, and then also like immobilized lions do not like being lifted up, he woke up as the team were carrying him. So I was behind everybody else because I was the new person on the team. I was carrying camera gear, water bottles, and everything. And I looked up just to see this male lion awake and looking around while on a stretcher on like 4 people's shoulders. So they put him down. And he was still groggy with the drugs, and being the youngest and the smallest person on the team, I was told to start walking to the car in case something happened. But the team was so experienced. I think they knew exactly what to do. They knew to be clear, of his line of sight. And when I was told to walk to the car, I didn't see where I was stepping. I stepped on a twig, and he heard me, and he turned in my direction, and we just sat there looking at each other for what felt like forever. But it ended well. I think it wasn't, he didn't charge or attack or anything like that. He just wanted to get away. But I think because I had a really experienced team and they knew exactly what to do, I didn't come away discouraged. I'm like, whew, that was a close call. I'm never coming back into the bush. But it ended well. It ended up being one of the most profound experiences of my life.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a really good point there. They may look cute and cuddly, but they're wild animals. And that's, everything you do is with purpose. It's with a good team. So, by being planned ahead of time, you can kind of be ready for some of those risks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were you able to find the video?
I have a video that I can play. It's off a Facebook page and I can share a screen, but it's 3 minutes long. So I don't know if that's okay.
Okay. Well, let's, I have an idea. Let's visit a couple more camera classrooms and then maybe we can wrap up the event watching the video.
Okay, sure. No problem.
Okay. So let's bring in our crew in Illinois again, see if they have another question for us.
Can I go? In one of your articles, like on your page, it says that like women are more encouraged to do like science and math. Has that ever happened to you?
I'm sorry, the connection was breaking. Can you please repeat the question?
So on
So
your like,
Amrita, loud and slower.
so on your website, it says that like women aren't as encouraged to do like math and science. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, we encourage the participation of women in the wildlife sector, and studying the sciences is one of those ways that they can join the field, particularly if they want to become wildlife biologists or wildlife scientists. In my case, I really did enjoy the sciences a lot. I liked learning about different species of animals, and I had the plan from the time I was about 12 or 13 to become a wildlife vet. So I was studying the sciences, and I think my favorite class in school was chemistry, and I really used to do very well in that. And even today, when we work to students that are your age, for example, yeah, we do encourage interest in the sciences. And in the past, we've even provided tutoring support for people that are interested. So yeah, we still do that, and we encourage young people to read and enjoy the sciences.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Hood's crew, I think I see someone there waiting.
Hi, my name is Bola. How do lions smell meat?
Okay, I can help you with that, Tandy. I think he's asking how good is lions' sense of smell? How can they smell meat?
Oh, how can they smell meat? They have a pretty good sense of smell. And when we're in the bush, for example, and wild dogs kill something, they'll come running within a short distance. And when we're out in the bush, for example, trying to attract lions to come to a call-in site where we're playing some of these sounds, if we pour some, soup or liquid from rotten meat, they'll come very quickly, so they can smell quite good.
All right, good question. So I think we should give that video a try and see if that works for us. So if we'll do it a little bit differently this time, Tandy, if you click the share screen and then go to the last option for the Chrome tab.
Okay, share screen.
Yeah.
Chrome tab. Okay. I think it's that one.
All right, let's see.
Share tab audio. Can you see it yet or no?
I see, yeah, yep, we got it.
Okay, let me open.
Perfect.
You just have to be cautious on the legs, not to go behind. The kicks are dangerous.
What the guys are doing is they're practicing their rope skills. They're working out a plan, who's going to sit on the neck once it's started, who's going to bring it down by using the ropes. Then the guys are going to work out who's going to work on what leg.
So it's the anatomy of the giraffe. He has a very long neck, and it requires high blood pressure to pump the blood to the head. And the drugs we use lowers the blood pressure and also causes respiration depression. So that's why we reverse immediately down so that the effect of the drugs does not prolong. Otherwise, they will die within minutes. We don't do that. The wired cutting really very deep, but when you remove, you will recover very well, so you'll be fine. There was a wound, so what we did, we debrided and cleaned the wound, and then we sprayed with wound spray. That's a good team effort. As you have seen, darting a giraffe requires a lot of people, and everyone need to know what they are doing. So it was really a good execution, and we have done it really well, as usual.
All right. Wow. I'm glad we got to see that. That definitely looks like a challenging operation, and you can see how that snare had really bit into that giraffe's foot.
Yeah, it's as hectic as it gets. I think giraffe desnaring is probably one of the most difficult you can do. Elephants are quite hard. You just have to move quick, but dealing with an animal with such a long neck is really difficult. But as you can see, the vet that we have is really experienced in this type of work. He's always calm no matter the situation, so that helps.
Yeah. So I'm going to share as well a YouTube link here. This YouTube link, I believe it's from the last event that Tandy did with us last year for Big Cats Month in December. And we were out in the field, and I don't want to wreck the surprise. So if some of the classrooms tuning in want to take a look at this event from the field, so the video quality, because it's from the field, isn't perfect, but it's a really neat experience. We had some unexpected visitors. So if you haven't seen that one, check that out. The link is there. If you want it as well, you can send me an email and I can send the link directly to you. But I want to start off with a huge shout out to you, Tandy. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for the great pictures, the great stories, the great work you're doing. It's always a pleasure to steal your time for a little bit, whether you're in the field, whether you're in the office, doesn't matter. We love having you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I do enjoy these events a lot as well.
All right. We have a few classrooms who are still with us. A few had to duck out, but let me bring in a couple classrooms if you want to give a big goodbye and thank you to Tandy today. Thank you so much for being here. All right. And we are going to sign off for today. Thanks so much, everyone.